Hey everyone, it's been a while and we just got a new patch and I'm excited for it. I was actually looking forward to it. I haven't played for a long time and there's a combination of things as to the reason why. One of them was actually the balance. I feel like just the meta has been very stale recently and the game has been a game of like matchups, right? So like if you're playing into a good matchup, a favorable matchup, you're most likely to win and then vice versa, you're most likely to lose. So I was hoping that the patch addresses that. So before we get started on the patch notes, let's just take a quick look at how the win rates are. So this is a website, aomstats.io. It goes over all the win rates. And unsurprisingly, we see Nua, which is number one here, which is 55%. But then shortly behind Nua, you see Freyr, you see Loki, you see Poseidon, surprisingly. You got Odin there. So mostly I would say the aggro gods are at the top. And then at the very bottom, you're going to see you're going to see the Egyptian gods. You're going to see Set, which is very, very low, 42%. We got Isis, we got Ra, and you can generally see that the more defensive gods are kind of at the bottom here, right? So, Shenong, which is one of the, I would say it's, for the Chinese, it's a little bit more defensive. You can see him being at the bottom here as well. So that's just my take on it. Generalization, it might not be true, but let's just say that, okay, let's go into the higher ELO brackets, right? Let's say 1500. You can kind of see there's a little bit of a switch now. You got Kronos, Uranus, which are, in my opinion, still very aggressive gods. But then you can see that there's just kind of flip-sided. You got Odin still there at the top, but then you got Shenong and Freyr kind of in the middle. You got Zeus in the middle, Poseidon in the middle, and Loki, surprisingly, is at a little bit towards the lower side of things. And then you got Isis, Ra, and Set. All three of them still very bad, right? Especially Set. I feel bad for Set players right now. 35% win rate. Let's go even higher. Let's go to the 1800 ELO. And I actually haven't seen this yet, so I'm going to be my first time as well. You can kind of see Nual still top one. You got Freyr at the top. You got Kronos. You got a little bit of a mix, which a lot of diversity, which is good. But as you go towards the bottom, Set got a little bit better, but still terrible, 42%. Isis, 35%. Ra 39%, but you can see that Hades is struggling there, Zeus is struggling there too. But here the sample size is so small that I don't really want to take this into heavy amounts of consideration. I would rather we just use the total ELO win rates, right? You can see the 7,000 games, 3,000 games, 5,000 games. And under most circumstances, almost any ELO bracket you look at, Egyptian is doing the worst. You got 42%, 46%, as I said. Egyptian is towards the bottom on almost any ELO level you look at. Now, this is multifaceted. It's because Egyptian is a harder civilization to play. It's more defensive in nature. They got a host of nerfs in the last patch, so that's kind of hurting them a lot too. So there's tons of different reasons why Egyptians could be performing poorly, but at the end of the day, they are performing really bad. I'm very surprised that Thor is kind of doing bad, but Thor also got nerfed with the dwarf change last time, so kind of maybe understandable. Now, I haven't been playing that much, as I said, but I've spoken to a lot of players and they still feel that, let me say, I spoke with Chemo and I spoke with Nora, a few other players as well, but most people kind of have this understanding that Norse are still towards the top of the ladder and Egyptians are still towards the bottom. Chemo goes on to say that he honestly doesn't enjoy Egyptian anymore because he feels like they're towards the bottom of the ELO bracket. Sorry, towards the bottom of the win rates. It's always an uphill battle when you're playing Egyptians. So without further ado, that's kind of the state of balance at the moment in terms of the stats. Stats are not everything. I understand there's a lot of generalizations being made at this point, but let's just take that into a little bit of consideration. Now, if I was a balanced dev, right, and I saw those win rates, if I was a balanced dev and I saw Egyptians struggling hard, what would be my target in this patch? Well, I would definitely try to, facilitate a little bit of, redesign in terms of Egyptians, because you can see across every single ELO bracket, they're not doing well. So definitely I would target Egyptians. You can see that Norse have been kind of at the top of the brackets for quite some time now. Freyr, Loki, they've been doing very, very well. So I would kind of like maybe take a look at that a little bit. Greek have always kind of stayed in the middle, and Atlantean I think are doing a little bit. It's a mix and match right now. Kronos is doing very well because Rhea got some really good buffs last time, but you can see that it's a mixed bag with Atlanteans. But the definitive things here is Egyptians are doing bad. So if I was a balanced dev, Egyptians would be somewhere. I would target them somewhere. Maybe they got nerfed a little bit too hard. Now let's go on to like see what changed here. Now this patch I'm very happy with. A lot of the things in this patch I'm very, very happy with. And let me show you guys what I like. The first thing is when I opened the game today and I started playing a little bit, I immediately noticed the performance improvements. My game was a lot smoother. So kudos to whoever made those changes. It is a little sad that things get worse before they get better every time, but I'm still happy that you guys the dev team is actually working towards making the game a lot smoother. And you can see all of these these crash fixes and these performance changes, which are great. So big thing there. Now there's even better things here, which I'll show you guys in a second. So I'm going to scroll down. They actually improve the the god powers when you use them. So I think I haven't really tested them as well, but right now, but I see that they're making an effort to change these things, which are good. But the one thing that I really like that they did here in this patch, which I know I should be grateful, but I think like this should have been in the game from day one. Like there's no need for this to take this long. I'm trying to find it here, but I'm struggling to find it. But essentially, we're gonna find it in a sec. Let's just find it. So give me 1 second right over here. It's not in gameplay. I'm just gonna search for it. Recorded. Here we go. Support for watching recorded games are faster and slower than before. So now we got 2x, 4x, 8x, and 16x. So this is excellent. And the fact that they put this in, even though it's a little bit late, better late than never, right? So I'm happy that they actually made this change, and I'm hoping that they continue making these type of changes, these quality of life fixes, as the game progresses. So they don't forget about these little tiny things that they can do to make the game better. So I'm very happy for that, and the fact that they're making an effort there, right? Now let's keep on moving on. A lot of these things are not going to impact most players, day to day in game. So I'm just going to skip a lot of them. This was a big change, actually. I think fell trees, you can actually walk through them in the last patch. If I'm correct on this. So now you can't do it, right? So that's a good thing in my opinion. I don't think that was a good change. Let's just go on right here. All right, campaign. I'm going to skip. All right, here we are in balance. Now, first thing is fortress type buildings do less damage to ships. So 6-time multiplier was kind of insane. They dropped it down to 3x. Still very good, and I like that. I honestly think the game would be so much better if they made incremental changes. You shouldn't have like massive amounts of bonus damage applied to different units and different buildings. I think small incremental bonus damages like 3x, 2x, stuff like that is a lot better than having this massive 6x. The players, when they're playing, and they need time to react. So if you're like trying to attack with a naval fleet into a fortress, and you're starting to lose units like in a split second, that's not enough time for a player to react. It should always be a little bit slower. I think to slow down the pace of the game, that's much more enjoyable for the average player, rather than just losing like a ton of units and a ton of infrastructure immediately. So good change there. Champion warships now increase siege ship attack range by +4. So I don't know how many of you guys have played the older Age of Mythology, but it was also really cool that siege ships could, if you got control of the water, then you're able to siege down your opponent's town centers from water. Imagine you're playing on watering hole. And actually, I think I have let's just open up a game here. So let's say you're playing on marsh, right? You go into marsh and you can see on the sides here, you have all of this water, right? Now, if you had control over the water, and let's say there was a town center right here, you would be able to siege it down, I believe, with this new upgrade. So that's what this is right here, I believe, and I think that's a good change. I like, what I really like about a game is the fact that you have to fight over strategic locations, right? A lot of this, in my opinion, we play RTS games for strategy. We don't play for button mashing. We don't play for, click and win, like maybe like Command and Conquer had a little bit of that, I remember. But the games that are enjoyable are the games that you actually have to win territory. So by winning water, let's say you fight over water, you finally win it, you should be rewarded for winning that patch of land, right? It's just like fighting in a battle, right? In a war, you're fighting over patches of land. If you're able to claim this piece of land that I'm looking at right here and I have highlighted, you should be able to reap the rewards of that. So let's say I take over this piece of land, me and my opponent fought for it, If I can control this and I can siege down a town center, it made it all worth it, right? Whereas let's say that I'm playing a game and instead of fighting over patches of land, we're fighting over who gets to the mythic age fastest, who drops a god power. In my opinion, that's not a lot, there's not a lot of strategy there. It's just optimizing your build order, going into mythic age, clicking a button. It's the same thing as China right now, going into heroic age, clicking Fey Beast, and then you just, automatically annihilate your opponent's army. There's not strategy there. There's not, the usage of your, there's not that much usage of brain right there, right? Brain power rather. It's low IQ skill. You're just going up, clicking a button and winning. I don't think that's really fun, right? So I like the fact that stuff like this changes the game a lot, right? Small changes like that. Now the relics got changed. This one I think was kind of OP. So this one got changed from making it slower, and then damage got reduced as well. So, the developer note, I really like these developer notes. I kind of like to see what they're thinking. They should have added one here, and they should have added one here as well to kind of just reflect their thoughts. But yeah, I think this is a fine change. Let's move on. Greek. You guys know Greek are kind of in between right now, right? So I think they could use a little bit of a touch up. They're struggling a little bit. And here, what do we get? We got a Petropolis buff, which I think is necessary. I felt like this is a good change. But honestly, is that all they're going to change? There should be a lot more here. Like the game is not in a position where balance is fair. It's not like it's relatively balanced right now. There's a lot of Civ wins right now and a lot of matchup wins rather. So you can't go about throwing out a patch with one change on just addressing an entire civilization. There's a lot of other things that you should be doing, in my opinion. I don't think Greek needs like 10 changes probably, or 5 changes. Try your best to change it. Shake up the meta. In case it goes wrong, well, people have stuff to experiment with. People have things to try different things. The game doesn't get stale. We get to, continuously try to improve it. Here, Egyptians, right? We looked at the win rates. Win rates are terrible for Egyptians, especially Set. Now imagine you're a Set player. That's the only civilization you play. Or let's say you're an ISIS or even a Raw player for that matter. You're not going to want to play that. If you're in a 40% win bracket, you're not going to want to play if you know that you're going to be stomped on in every game unless you play significantly better than your opponent. That's going to create frustration. That's not going to create an enjoyable atmosphere for you to enjoy the game. So I was hoping that there would be some addressing Set especially, but Egyptians overall. And all we really got was just like one myth unit change here. Like, I don't think this is acceptable really, right? Like, if you're like, this is not balanced, right? Let's say if we go up to like, I don't know, 1600, or let's say the highest ELO bracket, which is like 2000, but that's too high. You're not going to get a good sample size. Let's go to 1600, which gets a little better, I believe, but still, like, look at this. This is insanely bad, right? 26%, 36%. Like, it's not fun for people are going to start leaving the game. If people have main civilizations and they're not able to enjoy their main civilizations, maybe they'll have the skill, they'll have the time, they'll have the effort to change their civ. Like, I can play any civ I want, right? A lot of top players can play any civ they want. So if they're Set and their Set gets nerfed, okay, big deal. We're going to go play something else. We're going to go play some Norse. We're going to go play some, maybe some Atlantean. But if you're a player and you're playing casually and you're, I don't know, top 2000 or something, you're playing in the 1500 ELO or 1000 ELO, you're not going to want to relearn an entire civilization. It's going to be a pain for you, right? So the developers should see this win rate at this low of a win rate, and the fact that you get no changes for that civilization is just kind of disappointing, right? I want people at the lower elos to enjoy their civ. I want the Set mains to enjoy Set. I want the people playing Raw to enjoy playing Raw, or Hades, or these civilizations right here. These players, the Norse players, are not going to want to quit. They're winning, right? Generally, Norse has been a very, very strong civ for the most of the patches. Why would they ever want to quit the game? They're just stomping on their opponents. They're playing. They're having a good time. Atlantean, Greek, kind of in between. But then you got Set. Personal story. I was an Egyptian main in the old game. I have not been able to play this civilization. When the game launched, Egyptian was all about abuse, right? Getting to Meteor, getting to Valley of the Kings, And then it became like Chariot Archers with Bone Bow, and it's only about abuse. This civ has not been designed correctly, in my opinion. Now, if you want to win with this civilization, you're just going to find, If there is any abuse left, you're going to have to do it. If there's no abuse left, then you're going to have to outplay your opponent by miles, leaps and miles, right? So it's not a fun civilization to play. I've given up on the civilization. I barely played it. I mean, if we look at my game record right here, let's just take a quick look at it. Let's maybe I'm capping, right? Let's just see. I don't think this is accurate, right? Because I played a lot more games than this. We're set. 16 games is set. 19 as ISIS. So I'm pretty balanced. I played a little bit of everything, but I don't think this is accurate because I played like 300 games and it's only showing this many. Maybe it's because anyways, you guys don't care about that. I don't think that's true. I played Egyptian probably the least of any civilization on Retold. I just don't enjoy it. I don't think this is fair. I don't think this is good balance design. I'm sorry to be like a little bit maybe too direct about this, but things need to change. Like when a civilization is struggling, when a faction is struggling, you can't just ship out a patch with one change on it, which doesn't even address the civilization at all. In the last patch, you nerf like 3 different things. You nerf Migdals, you nerf chariots, you nerf so many different things, right? Here, the civ is terrible right now. Set is doing terrible, and you send out a patch with nothing to address it. I don't think that's good. Right? And I want this game to flourish. I want this game to do well. But even myself, I'm having a hard time playing Retold at the moment because there's no civ diversity. I can't even play the civ that I enjoyed playing for the last 15, 20 years, right? Because they suck. I know it's sad to say, but they're not fun to play. It's either you abuse the civ or you can't really play outright. Greek, on the other hand, it's a mixed bag, but still, I think it's a mixed bag with Greek. It's a mixed bag with Atlantean. Norse are just way too strong. We've been saying it for ages now, but I don't know. So let's take a look at Norse. Gulenbursty got nerfed a little bit, which no longer stuns enemies upon impact. That's a good change. Good thing there. Tempest got a little bit of a small nerf. I don't really think this is going to make much of a difference, really. It went from 10 divine damage to 5 pierce and 5 divine. So it's going to do a little bit better versus... it's going to do a little bit worse, especially versus siege units, I think. But overall, it's just a meh change. And Fimbulwinter got a little bit of a buff from 6 to 8. Once again, it's a meh change. So there's one buff here. One, I would say it's a no change. And this one is a nerf for Freyr a little bit. Little bit of a buff again for Freyr, or Tyr. So this is a mixed bag. I would say there's 2 buffs. One is like kind of nothing, and then one is a nerf, right? Doesn't address Norse at the moment. I still think it's going to be... The game is still heavily Norse favored in my opinion. Now let's take a look at Atlantean. Once again, look, there's only one change, right? I don't think balance is at a state where you can make such incremental changes. Now, it is true that the win rates are kind of getting capsized by Nua right now, because since Nua's win rate is 70%, you can't really get an accurate depiction on the other civilizations since she's just dominating everything, right? So that is fair, but overall, I don't think this is just a lazy balance patch in my opinion. It's a meh patch. There are some things that were addressed that were good, but overall, like this is a lazy patch. I don't think this is acceptable, right? We need more changes so that we can actually like change up the meta right now. We can give Egyptian a little bit of a buff. You don't need to like the reason why Egyptians were broken. I've said this since day one. It's because of the abusive elements of Egyptian. If you were playing Egyptian straight up, just outright, they're not broken. I think they're a perfectly fine civilization. I don't even think chariots were broken. I do think chariots were at the level where they were getting to a status where they could be broken, but I think they were very, very strong. And I think there are a lot of very, very strong things. Like Zeus hoplites with Athena upgrades are very, very strong too, right? So there are a lot of things that are very strong. I don't think chariots needed like a triple nerf in the last patch. They could take a little one nerf, sure, but 3 nerfs, and now the whole civilization is struggling, right? So once again, I'm saying this not because I'm trying to sway balance into my favor, right? I don't even play this civilization anymore. I want to play this civilization, but I just can't. I want the game to be balanced where everyone who plays all different factions are at an even playing field. when the game is not balanced like this, and I've said this so many times, but I'm just saying it again, you can't ship out a lazy balance patch with one change here, one change here. It's just like Greek need more than this, right? Egyptians need more than this. Norse need a little bit of a toning down, and Atlantean could use a couple changes here and there as well. So like, I think there was very, very little changes. Now let's take a look at Nua. In my opinion, Nua was strong because of the what's the thing's name? Their hero villager. What's it called? The Kausu, right? So that's what made, in my opinion, Nua very strong. The building bonus, like the buildings can build automatically, that was very strong too, but not broken in my opinion. Except for walls and towers, I think that was a little bit. It wasn't broken, but I think it was a little bit lame. I think the clay villagers were a little bit too strong, especially in heroic and mythic. So let's take a look. Okay, so this is it's a whatever change. Terracotta riders no longer lose HP at a reduced rate. Favored land, I don't think this was broken, by the way. I think it was very, very strong. Building rate on favored land reduced from 1 to 0.5 build points a second. I think that's acceptable. That's an okay change right there. No longer applies to falls and farms. I also think that's acceptable right there. I think these are good changes. I don't think this is the main problem for Nua, but I could be wrong. But I think that overall these are good changes. Creation, I think, is too strong in heroic and mythic, and that got nerfed here. I think this is a good change as well. Clay peasants were too strong. They had 100 HP compared to a normal villager, so they got reduced to 55. Damage reduced. I think this is a good change too, because a lot of people could use this god power offensively, build fortresses, towers, or even just attack other villagers from other civilizations and use this on forward town centers of opponents. So this is a good change in my opinion. Now, Shenog farms now auto build. This is a very good change as well. I think like people could just plop a farm down anywhere on the map. They can even make it invisible with the god power, and then so much abuse could happen that way. This is the Hotu, the earth wall. That was the worst, in my opinion. It's not a fun, at least for multiplayer, it's not fun. I can understand a lot of people in single player might enjoy this because they don't want to get rushed, but for multiplayer, I needed some changes. So now the build duration increased from 20 to 30 seconds, which receives 4 times more damage. I totally think this is fine. Initial hit points reduced. Once again, I think that's fine. Wall segment physical size increased from 2 to 1 to 3 to 1. That means each segment has more surface area. I don't know if that was needed, but maybe I'm wrong on that one. Earth wall number of segments reduced from 64 to 42 to accommodate. Oh, I see. Okay, so this happened in unison, so maybe this is okay. Cost increased from 50 to 75. That was absolutely needed. Repeat cost increase from 10 to 15. Once again, very much needed as well. I think the cost increase could have gone to even 100 favor. 75 favor is still very cheap for what this does. This is a very, very strong god power. But I'm more than happy with 75. I think even at 100, it could have been fine. But I think Chinese are not, well, I don't think they need favor for other things as well. So maybe this is okay. Overall, so far what I'm reading, I think is good. Advanced defenses. Converting a wall connector to tower now takes 25 seconds rather than being instant. I mean, this is an amazing change, but then it begs me to ask, like, this is so obvious. Like, when the game was released, this is the most obvious thing that this is going to lead to abuse, right? This is not a fun thing to play against. It's not fun to abuse this. Like, I played this when I was at ISIS, right? My opponent builds a wall, and then he can just have instantly 2 towers. Like, this should have never made it into the game. This should have always been balanced like this from the get-go. So a little criticism I can have is, like, I think these changes need to be, I don't even know if they're reviewed before they go into the game. They need to, like, take a second, maybe think for 5 minutes of what this can have, what impacts this can have, and then put this into the game. I don't think this should have ever been in the game. Yes, I'm happy that they're changing it at this point, but I don't think these things shouldn't be in the game from the get-go. The Yazi attack damage reduced from 40 to 20. I think this is a good change. You could 2-shot a villager right now with this special attack, so now it takes from 2 to 3. I still think this is very, very strong, right? But this is a good change overall. Drought god power adjusted as falls. Duration increased from 40 to 60. Temporary building hit points reduced from 50 to 40. Now, this one I'm a little bit worried about because this is a good god power when you're using it in combination with other like god powers that can destroy buildings, but by itself, it doesn't seem like a good god power at all, right? Like most of the time, if you're gonna have a lot of buildings and fortresses and stuff, you're gonna be defended by army. So if you destroy your opponent's army, then you're gonna automatically be able to destroy his buildings, right? So it has some potential, but overall it doesn't have that much, I think. So it's a god power that I think it's kind of meh unless you can use it in combination with other god powers in the Mythic Age. It has some applications, like if you have like a raiding party, I think that you can just drop this down on your opponent's main town center when his army's out of position, take it down. It could be useful in that sense as well, but I don't think it's that strong of a heroic age god power, but time will tell. Could be completely wrong on this. This technology was broken, rock solid. If when your myth unit was standing idle, it got some insane stats, so it got a little bit nerfed here, which I think is good. Scorching Feathers doesn't affect siege units. Okay, that's a good change as well. Now, Phoebes, though, this thing needed a nerf. I don't know how in the world this made it past the initial testing phase. This is the most broken god power, I think. It's worse, in my opinion, it's worse than Great Flood because I played some games and you drop down Phoebes and you automatically kill like 20 units, right? So 20, 30 units can die in an instant. You can change the game with this god power right here. Now, a lot of people have been saying that this is still broken, right? I don't think this should be 6 speed. I think villagers should get a little bit of extra time. Like imagine you have a gold mine with 20 villagers on it, right? You drop this god power, those 20 villagers are as good as dead almost. 6 speed, they're not going to be able to run away. And even if you spread them out at 6 speed, they're all going to get capsized. So I think this one needed a little bit lower speed, maybe 5.5. A lot of people are saying that it still does a ton of damage. It remains to be seen for me, but how it made it past initial testing, I'll never understand. Great Flood, reduced down from 15 to 13 seconds, reducing divine damage. I mean, once again, I know I sound a little bit bitter, but how did this make it past initial testing? Like it should have been known that this is so busted, right? I mean, it's not in my opinion, it's not as broken as some other things, but like it definitely didn't need to be this strong from the get-go. All right, so technology, hero cost reduction from 40% to minus 25, that's fine. This Fire Archer, I think, needed a buff. It was a little bit too weak. I wonder if this is going to be enough, though. I'm happy that this got buffed, but I'm just very curious if this is going to be enough. So if it is, I'll be very happy. The main issue with archers, and I've said this from day one as well, is they become really effective and really useful once you get ballistics, but before that, they're kind of a liability, especially in the classical age when you can't hit any moving units. So they're very squishy, they're slow, and then on top of that, they have bad accuracy. So it's not fun to have a unit that's only good after you get a certain technology. I think maybe this is something for a different topic, but ballistics should be, in my opinion, should be reworked or should be removed from the game. And these archers should get a little bit more tracking from the get-go. No one wants to, make a unit that can barely hit another moving unit. Chukano, hack armor reduced from 25 to 20. This is a very good unit, so a little bit of a nerf I think is acceptable there. Halberder, yeah, so the damage increase from 3.5 to 4, and bonus damage from cavalry from 6 to 5. I think this is like kind of, when I was trying Herdmen, and I was trying them against this unit right here, and I think this unit is a little bit on the weaker side. I don't even know if this is going to be enough, but let's have a look at that. Maybe that remains to be seen. A 1 second train reduction on the swordsman. Okay, whatever. The axe cart got a massive buff from 360 to 500. Crush armor went up. Crush damage increased. This is a massive buff, so be very interesting to see how it does now. And I think it does need a buff because it's a melee unit essentially. It has to get into range, right? So it's good that it got a little bit of a buff there. The Pioneer got a nerf, and everyone knew this was coming. This unit was like better. It overshined everything that China had in H2, so I kind of I see this being nerfed, which is fine. It's still probably very good. It still has like 6 damage, right? And it only costs wood and gold, so it's still fine. I'm surprised actually. I was completely wrong on this one. I thought this unit was okay, but apparently a lot of people have been complaining about it. saying is just way too strong, especially in the Mythic Age. So maybe they were right on that. Let's see what happens there. The Kaofu hero for Nuwa, hit points reduced, hack armor reduced, pierce armor reduced, attack range. I don't think this is enough, by the way. I think it needs its gather rate and its building speed needs to be reduced. The thing is insane. Like you can get a town center up so fast with Nuwa, right? I don't think this is enough to address Nuwa. I think the civ is still going to be very strong. This is the main reason, in my opinion, early game why she does really good. Myth unit, the special stun reduced from 5 to 2. That's fine. You know, just reading this right now, I still think this is not enough for Nuwa. The Yazi was adjusted. So it's hero damage. Multiplier versus heroes reduced. Cost increased. I think this is overkill now at this point. It is very cheap though, 125 food. Sorry, wood. It got a little bit tankier, but the problem with Chinese is if you make a myth unit, then you're kind of, you know, you can't make any cow fu, which are even more important in my opinion. So I don't think it needs this cost increase. Well, maybe you can use the wooded cost increase, but I think the favor should stay low. Because every time you make a myth unit, you kind of indirectly hurt yourself as well, right? Sorry, just losing my voice. Let me have some water. All right. The Pixu trade rate increased from 0.75 to 0.875, which is good. The Qinglong attack range reduced. Special attack puddle damage reduced as well. I wasn't sure that this was broken. Is this? Oh, this is the dragon. Yeah, the dragon is really busted. And I don't think this is enough either for the dragon, but I could be wrong on that. Yeah, I think this was the dragon. Like, this is not enough. First of all, it's a flying unit, so it's very hard to take down. And then the divine damage it's still going to be insanely strong. So I don't think this is enough to address Nuwa. I think it's going to be maybe okay for the rest of the Chinese roster. Because, you know, like China, overall, Nuwa is the only civ that seems to be like doing really, really well. But Fusi and Shenong are kind of on the lower end of the spectrum. I don't know if this is enough. And I really think the main power from Nuwa is coming from this, right? The Kaofu hero. I think it needed a little bit of a reduction on its gather rate and its build speed. Because even when it's like chopping down wood, like its carry capacity is 50, which is insane, right? So some changes to maps, modding editor. Okay, I don't care about that. All right. First of all, I'm sorry, I was a little bit critical. I got a little bit heated. I'm happy that devs are still putting effort into this game, but I think they need to put a little bit more work. Like these type of patches, when the game is not in pristine shape at the moment, and a patch is on the horizon, and we're getting like, this is not being addressed, a lot of people just quit the game because of stuff like this, right? Like a lot of lower ranking players, when their civilization is being hammered like this, they're just not going to play anymore. They're going to lose the will to play. And I don't want that to happen. I want our numbers to stay strong. I want people to continue playing. And I don't want... I personally feel like there's like some sort of like reluctance to tone down Norse, even though Norse is, in my opinion, the strongest civ at the moment overall. Like Nuwa is the strongest, but Norse is by far one of the best civilizations, and not much has been done to touch Norse, I think. And then the Egyptians just got completely killed. And now, is this a bad patch? I don't think this is a bad patch, but I think this is like kind of like a mid patch. Like nothing really changed. Like China even, I don't know if this is going to be enough. I really don't think this is going to be enough. I mean, I don't know. Let me know what you guys think, right? Like, I don't think this is enough. I think the next patch has to have a lot more done to think about like what's happening here. Why are some civilizations doing so bad? How can we bring them up? Why are some civilizations overperforming for the last, 3, 4 months, 5 months? I think, And these things are not like it's hard to see. Like Egyptians being broken at the beginning of the game, I called it from day one. It's because of their god power spikes. It's because of the mythic age. It's it was obvious, right? The fact that they can get more myth units than any other civilization age too. But the core design of the civilization itself, it's not like it's completely broken on other ends of the spectrum, right? Now I want to play this game and I want to play and enjoy it, and I want to play different civilizations without feeling like I'm, fighting like an uphill battle all the time. But I just feel like it's, I don't know. I don't know what to say now. Kind of getting a little bit sad because, I was expecting a little bit more. But all right, let me know what you guys think. It's like getting kind of late here, so enough of my ramble. Let me know what you guys think. I'm looking forward to seeing your comments below. Sorry if I got a little bit heated here. I know maybe it's not like me, but who knows. All right, see you guys. Bye.